Think of your favorite dish. It could be Indian, Italian, Chinese, European, Spanish, Japanese. It could be anything. Just think of your favorite dish. And if someone asked me that, the first thing that would pop in my head would be Indian because we've grown up with all these ingredients in us. Some of our favorite dishes could be simple dishes. But why am I asking you this? I'm asking you this question so that you start thinking that what is that one dish that I really love? And that one dish will not only be important to you for cooking, but it will also be an important dish while you eat it because all those flavors are what you remember. So, food is actually a sensory experience. While you cook it or you eat it, it is a mixture of that. And I want to first tell you about the important senses that are used and mostly ignored when cooking and eating food. The first thing that we say is that we eat with our eyes. The eyes are the most important thing because when we see food, when we see all those beautiful colors on the plate or in a market when we go to buy vegetables, we see a huge array of different colors. It brings a smile to our face. That rainbow brings a smile to our face. We instantly want to grab it, want to take it home, make something out of it if we're creative enough. If not, we look at it from a nutritional aspect. So the first thing that we do is always eat with our eyes. And as chefs, we always focus on that. So when you go to a restaurant, you'll see a beautifully plated dish with lots of little elements. It could be a garnish of something. It could be a puree of something. It could be a crispy tuile. We'll see that and we'll want to eat it. The second thing and the most important one is our ears. Most of us forget that we actually also eat with our ears. And how is that? I'm sure you're thinking. We can't put food into our ears, but we can hear every single thing. And if you ask me what's my favorite memory or what's my favorite sound, is a busy restaurant. Glasses clinking, plates on the table, waiters coming out with lots of food. There's a laughter, there's a sound of joy, there are people enjoying that food. The kitchen is dishing out dish after dish. That sound brings a smile on my face, and I instantly want to go to a restaurant. But for you, at home, it could be the simple sound of a pressure cooker and your mother making her favorite dish for you. It could be the sound of a crispy dosa which is once broken and you're sharing half of it with your friend. Or it could just be like in the movie Ratatouille when he holds the bread against his ear and he crunches it. He hears it, right? And he gets so excited. These sounds evoke emotions that you want to pick up that dish and eat it. The next one would be your nose. Now you're thinking again that how would you eat with your nose? But most of you know that you can smell with your nose. All those aromas that you get, it could be just that little waft, and you must have seen lots of these chefs taking pictures just doing this. That's because they're trying to get the aromas. Because before you eat the dish, your nose is actually picking up all those aromas. For me, one of those memories would be when I would come back from school, right at the gate of my home. As soon as I would open the gate, I could already tell what was being prepared. And I would come inside and play this guessing game with my mom and be like, this is what you've prepared today. And she'd be like, yes. And it's soon, I didn't even realize when in childhood I started picking up these little notes, which stayed with me forever. And they actually increased my ability to pick up different aromas. For you, it could be a lovely cup of coffee in the morning, or it could be the tadka of curry leaves and mustard seeds. Sound and an aroma. Well, let's move on to the next one, which is your fingertips. Now, your hands are obviously very important. We do not eat straight away with our mouth. We pick up the food from our hands. And we don't realize that even in that moment when we pick up the food and we take it to our mouth, there's a sensory there. Let me tell you about textures. Chefs are crazy about textures. They want loads of textures on their plate. And the reason they want those textures on their plate is so that when a guest actually tries different elements, he's got different textures in his mouth. So when you pick up a dish, like I said, with the crunch, crispy fried chicken, something as soft as a mochi, which is a Japanese dessert, or it could be just fluffy idlis, When you touch it, you already kind of have a sensory understanding that this is what it's going to taste like. If it touches soft, you have a feeling that it's going to be delicate and soft. If it's crunchy and hard, you think it might be something which might have an explosive flavor or could be delicate at the same time. And now moving on to the most important one, which is your palate, which is eating with your mouth and tasting with your mouth. Now, on our tongue, we have about 2,000 to 4,000 receptors, which can detect different flavors. And according to what we understand as the 5 rasas, there is sweet, sour, salty, bitter, and umami. These are the 5 flavors that we understand. But according to Ayurveda, there's also astringent and bitter. These are the 7 if you look at it from an Indian context. Now, why is this important? It's important because your tongue can actively collect all those memories right from tasting all these different bits. So as you see on your screens behind, there's this flavor chart. We've got different flavor combinations. Now, why is this important in today's TED Talk? And what are we unraveling the complexity of? I want to tell you about a very simple thing and a very simple dish. This is my favorite dish. I don't know how many of you love it, but it's dal chawal. Simple dal chawal. This is what I eat pretty much every day. Today I had a McDonald's burger, that's different. But this is what I eat every day in the kitchen because as chefs, we are so used to eating and tasting all sorts of foods which are being plated for the guests. It could be fried, it could be baked, it could be beautifully presented, it could have 100 elements on it. But ultimately, comfort food is comfort food. And for me, this is my favorite dish. And when I'm asked this question every time, I always answer that, dal chawal is my favorite dish. And people always ask me that, it's so simple, like, why do you like it? And my answer has always been the same. And I'm sure if I ask you what's your favorite dish, you'll always go back to something from your mother's kitchen or your grandmother's kitchen. However much you might travel, however much you like exploring different cuisines, you'll always come back to your roots. So here I am talking to you about coming back to your roots and the topic today. So when I had to understand complexity and I had to understand what are flavors and what are how can we unravel the complexity in food and in cooking, I realized that there's only one thing that comes to my head, and that is spices. As Indians, we've grown up with a whole range of spices. And what I to understand is that Indian cooking very not easy. It's easy for us because we've grown up with it. It's easy for our grandmothers because they've always with a pinch of this, a dash of that. So for me, Indian food, however much it's part of our lifestyles and our upbringings and our heritage, it's also extremely complex and it's layered in spices. Now, when I was thinking about a very complex dish, I want to tell you about one dish which is ordered 115 times per minute on a food delivery app. I'm sure most of you know the answer. It's biryani. And even if you've not eaten biryani, which I don't think anyone over here has not eaten biryani. I'm sure everyone's had a biryani sometime or the other. You might have not cooked it, but I'm sure you've eaten it. Even if you've not eaten it, I'm sure you've heard of it. Okay. So now what and why is this biryani so popular? And what are we talking about, in terms of a biryani? And that's where I'm going to share some very interesting insights, which you might find quite wild. At the same time, you might connect with it. So let me tell you that I'm going to teach you right here, right now, in the next 5 minutes, I'm going to teach you how to make a biryani. Very simple. I'm taking over. This is my cooking class. Imagine it. And we've taken a large pot, big pot. We're making a big biryani. Don't think of it some small biryani. We're making a big biryani. And in that big pot, we'll be adding some ghee or oil, depending on whatever you have. And we're going to be adding some whole spices. This is the first step that we do when we make a biryani. Now, just like that biryani, we're going to be looking at us as human beings. We're born into this world. We're just like that big pot with ghee, which is love from our parents. and lots of whole spices, which is all the goodness that our parents give us. All the good stuff. They decide they want to put a cinnamon, they decide they want to put a star anise, they decide they want to put a bay leaf, they decide they want to put red chilies. That's the first thing, the foundation of the biryani, and that's the foundation for us. And after this has been simmering, we add lots of sliced onions. I'm sure you know chefs love sliced onions. We put lots of sliced onions in this, and we are also about 4 years old and we're put into school from nursery to 12th. That's how much onions has gone into the pot of biryani. And now that onion has to be very, very slowly browned. Now you know what happens if we put the gas a bit fast, the onions will get burnt. If you slow it too much, the onions will start water. So right from the time that you're in school till the time you're in your 12th standard, like the onions are slowly browning, we are also slowly going from nursery, prep, 1, 2, 3 till the time we reach 12th. And once the onions have browned, it's time to add our meat or our chicken or our vegetables. And just like that, for us, it's about taking that decision. What do we want to do in our careers? Do we want to go into engineering? Do we want to be a doctor? Do we want to be a chef? Do we want to be an artist, a singer? Like that. Do you want this biryani to be a chicken biryani? Do you want it to be a mutton biryani? Do you want it to be a veg one? Do you want it to have only bengan? Whatever you want to do. So now you're understanding where we're going, right? Biryani is getting cooked on one side, and right now we've chosen it. Now, for example, I'm making a chicken biryani because I decided to do culinary arts, so I added the chicken. And now we are at that point in our lives when we're 18, 19, 20, and we've decided that we want to choose this path. We want to go, in this direction, whatever it might be, whatever we've chosen. And the chicken does take time to cook. It does take time to tender. Sometimes you have to marinate it, means you have to prepare yourself. You're getting into it. It could be, very difficult. If you want to be an astronaut, it could be very easy. If you want to go into something else, whatever it might be, you've taken a choice. And you have to go ahead with that choice, at least till the time you're making this biryani. Of course, after you make this biryani, you want to choose something else, that's different. So at this point of time, now I'm going to get into my life. So I studied in Delhi. I went to a very simple and very good school. And I went to Aurangabad after that, which is my chicken that I chose. I went and studied culinary arts there. And let me tell you, whatever field you choose, you have to put in the hard work. You have to put in the time. You have to put in the effort. You have to layer yourself, just like how we've been layering the biryani, right from the time that we've started adding all the spices and then we added all the onions. For me, that started at the age of 18. I pretty much knew very young that I wanted to be a chef. And that's why I wanted to make a chicken biryani. And I went to IHM Aurangabad there as a chef, went on to study at the Taj and work at the Taj as well, and did my master's at Liquid. I armored myself with lots of information because I thought that that is what will give me an extra boost in my career. I thought I would give myself all that knowledge, and it did help me because I am a person who is very skill and knowledge oriented. And similarly, what I'm trying to tell you is that in the biryani also we've been adding layers. Similarly to life also, I've been adding those layers. And how have I been adding those layers? With little bits of skills, knowledge, hard work, and most importantly, getting the right experience. The chicken takes time to cook, but don't forget we still have to add the rice. And we're going to add the rice only after the chicken is cooked, at least 50%. So now the chicken's cooked, we're adding the rice, we're going to be adding some water, the right quantity of water. Now it's about taking those right steps in your career where you want to choose, where you want to work. How do you want your career to start? Which level do you want it to start? But make sure that it's starting from a point where it's only going to take you upwards. When we put about 100 grams of rice, it becomes 300 grams of cooked rice. Just giving you numbers. 100 grams of rice raw will become 300 grams. Why and how? Because we're adding that water and the water will puff up the rice and it will slowly simmer. The same way in our careers, we need to measure how much of what do we want to add at what stage. We have to add those bits ingredients so that it will be beneficial for us in our career. Similarly, once the rice is cooked, we are still not done. Our biryani is still not ready because we still have to do two very important things. We have to add some flavors on top. It could be saffron water, kevra, rose water, whatever you want to add. Or it could be simple with a little bit of ghee and then we put some dum. Now, dum is slow cooking. And that's what's important to know. It's going to take time, it's going to take effort. Your careers are very, very important because they're going to make you who you are. And all those steps are important. So don't rush it. And right while that biryani is slowly on dum, just before we open it, we know that all that time, effort, and hard work that we put in will make that biryani a great biryani. Similarly, in my career, I took out time to write a book, which is called The Parsi Kitchen. At the same time, also created a social media challenge where whatever social media platform, where whatever information that I learn, I like to share it with people. And that is how a biryani is supposed to be had. You're supposed to share a biryani and you're supposed to enjoy it with all of you. Each of you has to understand the analogy that I've drawn today between a biryani and your life and your careers. I'm not saying go and crave a biryani or make a biryani or eat a biryani, but I just want to thank all of you for listening to this. And I hope this makes you curious and makes you think that how a simple dish like this or a culinary journey like mine can evoke thoughts into your own lives. Thank you so much.